This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome to Born Wild, the show that takes you to the heart of wild India. It takes you up close and personal to some of India's most endangered animals, places, and the people who help them fight for their survival. This week, we're in the Andaman Islands. Perhaps this is one of the last of the world's pristine wilderness areas. Over 88% of this archipelago is not just uninhabited, but undiscovered by travel and tourism. The question is, will it stay like this, or in a decade will inexorable progress take over? Will we for once understand the importance of preserving a pristine wilderness area, understand the wealth in leaving nature untouched as opposed to the short-term wealth in exploiting her? How can we maintain the balance? It was a sunny morning when I found myself face to face with Rajan, the last of the captive swimming elephants of the Andamans. Rajan had been brought to the islands when he was just a young calf. His mother and later he worked for the timber industry. It was from her that he learnt to swim. When timber out of the islands was banned, Rajan, like many of the other elephants, was put out of work. He is now living on Havelock Islands, living the life of a beach bum. Havelock Island is one of the islands in the Andaman archipelago, closer to Thailand than mainland India. This island, after Port Blair, is probably the fastest growing tourist destination here in the Andamans.
We want to make it like an eco-friendly place, and we thought, like, because Barefoot came here first before any other hotel came, and we said, okay, we'll come first and we'll start and making something different instead of concrete and all, you know, and make it, like, set up an example and make it popular, and I'm sure it will sell. And we want, like, everybody else to copy us, to do it eco-friendly stuff, like with bamboo, wood, thatch, stuff like that. And I think that's what people like, no?
At one time, these islands were hardly inhabited. They were used by the British to put their prisoners in. The only other inhabitants were the island's original people, the Jarawa, the Onge, Andamanese and Nicobari tribes. Many of these tribes, even today, although their numbers are greatly reduced, are the last of the living wild indigenous people with minimum or no contact with the rest of the world. But for many of the islands, the reality is changing. Port Blair, however, has expanded and become a large town.
Everybody wants to stay close to Port Blair. South Andaman Island is a big island. You can go anywhere to make new offices or buildings or whatever, but everybody want to stay close to Port Blair. And that's why it's developed like in a very bad way. There are buildings everywhere. Before it was beautiful little town with nice colonial architect, wooden buildings, narrow roads, avenue trees, everything. Now, like, it's concrete all over. 25, 30 years ago, there was not one concrete building except cellular jail, that too made up of bricks. No?
Havelock is yet to become the mess that Port Blair is. But it's getting there. Some responsible resort chains like Barefoot at Havelock are trying their best to ensure that the exploding tourism reaching the Andamans does not do too much damage, and that the eco-tourism component is present more than in name only.
Basically what people want, they want a clean room, they want a clean shower and toilet, and good food. It doesn't have to be like 8-course dinner or something. Food should be edible, nice and tasty, and it should be local.
On Havelock, Rajan spends his days wandering the forests, and when he feels like it, he takes a swim in the sea. His chains are removed, and for about $500 you can swim and dive with him and take photographs. The Barefoot Resort pays for his upkeep, which runs into the lakhs per year, and this way Rajan collects a little bit of money for himself. But just like the island's future, Rajan's days of idyllic wildness also seem numbered. His owner has been offered a lot of money to sell him to a temple in Kerala where he will be chained through the day, and the only time he will be allowed is to walk on the tar streets during the festivals. Not a life for a 57-year-old elephant who has spent too much time in the wild, even as a domestic elephant. He is hardly tied up here, the chains only on him more like a leash on a dog to bring him into control if it is needed. Otherwise, he's in the forest by himself the whole day. The Barefoot group is now hoping to raise money to be able to keep him on in Havelock and not have him shipped off to the mainland. Rajan has spent most of his life on these islands. His day today really consists of wandering free in the jungle, eating his food, getting fed. He can swim when he wants. He's hardly ever tied up except when he's in mast, and he gets to do what he wants when he wants. Just the islands cover an area of 8,294 square kilometers, of which only 150 square kilometers is cultivated, 300 square kilometers is plantation, about 800 square kilometers inhabited, and the rest, about 7,000 square kilometers, is forests. About 80% of the islands are off limits to people.
We have problems with encroachments. Like some years ago, they evicted a lot of encroachers because there was an order from Supreme Court of India. And then they were promised they will get like some land somewhere else, but nothing happened. And these encroachers, they are again sitting back there. Their plantation will like chopped out, everything cut down. But where these people will go? Because they are living in those lands for the last many years. I don't like that they should go in the reserve forest and cut forests, but like where they'll go.
The islands have three primary ecosystems: the mangroves, the tropical evergreen and semi-deciduous forests, and of course the ocean with the magnificent coral reefs. From Havelock, the Barefoot group gives you a good guided tour of all the ecosystems. You can take a boat ride to the mangroves and then you can kayak through them. The kayaking is fun, if tricky experience, as I learned. It looked really easy to do, but it took some skill. I felt like I was paddling in circles or bumping straight into mangrove roots. Mangroves are special trees that put roots down that can breathe in water and also grow out of the soil and breathe directly from the air. There are different varieties and species of trees, and there are a vast storehouse of fauna, from crabs to mudskippers and of course the saltwater crocodiles. The mangroves are also major fish nurseries. This is where the fish spawn and hatch, and this is also where the shrimps and the prawns spawn and hatch. And these nurseries feed the sea, keeping the fish population healthy. The mangroves also protect the coast from the big storms and bigger waves, and any destruction of the mangroves could prove fatal to the islands. One of the island's tops has a rare treat: ancient limestone caves. It takes hundreds of thousands of years for these amazing stalactites and stalagmites to form. The stalactites are the lime deposits that grow down from the ceiling of the caves, and the stalagmites are the deposits that grow up from the floor of the cave. Sometimes stalactites and stalagmites meet, forming an amazing pillar. Walking through these caves is like being in some ancient cathedral, and it really gives you a sense of time on the planet. We watched just one drop of water mixed with calcium slowly drop down. Imagine how much time it has taken for all these formations to become what they are now, and how that in the context of the world that we live in as humans and the things we build, how completely unimportant we are in the larger scheme of things around us.